Hey out there, this is Wake Angel 2001, and we're coming at you with this week's Sonic Boom vlog. I couldn't read the title. My TV was too fuzzy, because again, I had to watch it on a tape because I'm at work when the episode's on. And, it has something to do with Eggman's gravity ray. I'm not sure what it was. Like, there was probably some pun in there, but I couldn't read it. It was too fuzzy. Anyway, the episode begins innocently enough. Dr. Eggman wakes up to enjoy a lazy Sunday, and when he goes to the door to pick up his paper, a breeze blows it all over the place and makes it hard for him to catch up. So he said that Mother Nature's gotten a swollen head ever since his factories gave her the power to produce acid rain, so he's going to find a way to put her in her place. And he calculates that if he can rotate his layer by 18 degrees, then the breeze won't come in on Sunday mornings, and he'll be able to pick up his paper without it getting blown away. So after he runs these calculations, Cubot and Norbot come in with his breakfast, and he accidentally knocks a tray over, and then tells him to clean it all up, while he goes to get his gravity boots. So Cubot and Norbot, they go get the anti-gravity ray so that they can use it to clean up the mess, and Orbot points out what a useful invention this is, and like, you know what? An anti-gravity ray would be an incredibly useful invention. Like, you could make a spaceship payload weigh almost nothing so you could get it into orbit with virtually no fuel. Or you could build skyscrapers several miles tall without having to worry about them toppling over. Or making cranes strong enough to lift the materials up that high. Like, there's so much you could do with an anti-gravity device. So Cubot decides to wear it like a hat. And when he puts it on like a hat, they try to wrestle it free, but when they're fighting over it, Orbot accidentally snaps off the handle, and it's left on. And every time Orbot turns his head, the ray starts zapping random items in the room, and they start to float away. So when Eggman comes in, wondering what the heck's going on, they point at Cubot and his massive screw up, and Orbot can't get the handle back in because Cubot's starting to short circuit from all the extra gravitational energy in his head. So he's just kind of randomly looking around, and the beam keeps on hitting things. Every robot that tries to hit to reach the gravity thing ends up getting started floating. And well, you know, like, it's hard to push against the air because, like, okay, think about how much momentum is in that. Like, I weigh about 150 pounds or so. If I was floating around and I had nothing to push against except the air at 1 atmosphere, I would have a pretty hard time moving through it. This is not like swimming through water. It's very difficult to do. One of the mantis bots accidentally hits the pneumatic tube system, and they all get sucked up to the roof of the lair. That's when Eggman manages to get hold of his gravity boots, which puts him firmly on the ground, and he tries to figure out what he can do to solve this problem. Meanwhile, since they're out in the open air, everybody drifts over into the town, where we join Sonic and friends, playing a game of soccer. They're playing a game of soccer on the beach, and Sonic falls into a sinkhole because Knuckles has been digging tunnels everywhere. Because it's what he digs. You dig? He digs digging. Well, you know, if Knuckles still had the power to glide, like he does in the proper universe games, then maybe he'd have an affinity for base jumping, so I guess digging is the only other thing he was good at. So, okay, what follows is perhaps one of my favorite lines ever. The game has come down to a goal, like a free kick, a penalty kick. And Amy points out that this will prove that a female can be every bit as good an athlete as a male. And that's when Knuckles points out that if she, when she calls attention to the fact that he phrased this okay, I'm gonna have to paraphrase because I don't remember, but he phrased this incredibly eloquently and done absolutely perfect. Like, this clip should be recorded so it can be played back on the internet to make a point every time somebody says something stupid online. That's how perfect this line read is. It basically boils down to Amy pointing out every instance when a girl can do something as good as a boy is as if it's an exception rather than the rule, actually is a strike against gender equality rather than for it. And this causes everybody to be like, oh. And Knuckles is like, what? Just because I'm a meathead doesn't mean I can't be a feminist. Brilliant! Perfect! The entire existence of this series is justified for this line, okay? Because, damn it, somebody had to say it eventually. Like, I've actually been quietly saying this a whole bunch of times, every time, but nobody ever really, takes it. Nobody ever really believes me because I'm just some asshole. But this, finally, some guy on a TV show has said it. Thank you. Because, Amy Rose's big character flaw in this series is that she tends to get a little bit SJW-y sometimes, and that's really annoying. So to actually get someone I'm pretty sure SJWs were only just becoming a thing when they started developing this show, but nowadays people are really put off by the rhetoric spouted out by SJWs, and Amy was beginning to fall into that little fold. So by having her put in her place like this, the show can really distance itself from that kind of rhetoric, and that's a good thing. Alright, so anyway, Styx says that although this poignant conversation was pretty impressive, their towels are getting abducted by aliens. And it turns out that Cubot, Orbot, and everything else has drifted into the town and are starting to make everything else float. So they're trying to rescue everybody who's starting to float away, and so Eggman's still floating there, and he's with his egg pod, and he tries to get the lever from Orbot to turn off the gravity gun, but he can't reach it, and his Eggmobile gets hit by the gravity ray and starts drifting aimlessly. That thing is basically a hover tank. Can it really not compensate for the fact that it's not affected by gravity anymore? So when his hovercraft starts to drift, he abandons ship and lands on the ground. He tries to think of some way to solve it, and he does go and he gets some thingamabobbins to do to make up a hoop-de-joop to do the thing. But then he sees that Sonic and his friends are dealing with. Oh, he's gonna save the day. Okay, so he goes over to Madburger. He orders some fries from Dave the intern, and Dave asks if he wants fries at that. So Eggman thinks and says, you know what, I would like fries at my fries. But by the time he decides that, Dave the intern got hit by the anti-gravity ray and floats away. So Eggman says he's gonna take charge and make his own fries! So he hops over to the counter to make his own fries. So now everybody's trying to save everybody, they did a cute little line where Eggman said he'll dock Orbot his year's pay. Fastidious Beaver points out, actually, he can't dock you anything because he doesn't pay you. So he can charge him cost of living expenses. Well, he wouldn't be able to do that if he has some claimed as dependents on his taxes. Can we please stop talking about my financial situation? And it's somewhere around this point where Cubot, the gravitational rays actually start to affect Cubot's brain to the point where he believes he's some kind of enlightened guru who is freeing everybody from gravity's tyrannical hold, and he can actually start to manipulate the gravity ray on his own and start shooting it out of his hands. So he's actively aiming for the people in the town now, and everybody's trying to save everybody, but Styx and Amy get caught and they start to float away. And as he starts to say rhetoric about being freed, Knuckles says that he kind of likes that idea but then Tails says, yeah, until they start to float up so high that they reach space and don't have any air to breathe. I really wish that you told me that before I went all in. And it turns out that Knuckles allowed himself to get shot and he starts to float away. So, at this point, everyone's floating, and Cubot says that everybody is now free to express themselves. And so I was like, oh no, there's nothing worse than Amy expressing herself! We gotta stop this! Wow, they're really selling in the fact that Amy's rhetoric can get pretty annoying, huh? They're really coming down on her in this episode. Aside from that one line about the sports, it's not like she was even particularly annoying this time. I mean, jeez. Why is everybody being so harsh on Amy? I mean, come on. So Tails and Sonic, they decide to go save the day, and of course, since they're going to be doing some high altitude flying, it means spacesuit time! Yep. So the justification of Sonic wearing this little spacesuit is done. And they also have Tails in a spacesuit. I wonder if they're going to make a little spacesuit version of Tails, since Tails is in a spacesuit. The toy is justified now. They didn't just make it so that you can't have Knuckles with the spacesuit without having Sonic with the spacesuit. Now Sonic has been in the spacesuit. I just gotta say that. So they fly up to high altitude, and they go through a lot of shenanigans in the sky. Dr. Eggman, the first batch of fries that he made was somehow burnt and frozen at the same time. He probably cooked them at too high a temperature, which meant that he didn't leave them in long enough for the centers to thaw, but the temperature was too high, so the outsides got burnt. That happens. Although that usually happens when you microwave something or cook it in an oven. French fries are usually deep fried, and boiling oil is pretty stable. So it actually takes some good talent to deep fry something and leave it frozen in the middle and burnt on the outside. Because when I was talking about curing clay by sticking in boiling water, people ask me how hot do you have to make the water, and boiling water only has one temperature, 212 degrees. The only thing that changes is how long you leave it in there. I kind of figured that oil was the same way. Boiling oil would have a constant temperature, so somehow he managed to boil the oil at a higher temperature. I think the only way you could do that is if you actively applied extra pressure. It's to prevent, because under higher atmospheric pressures, the boiling point can be raised. Did he make these fries in a pressure cooker? How do you do that? I digress. I've been talking too much about fries. His second batch actually comes out perfect, but we'll get to that later. So there's a relatively exciting scene where they're flying up in Tails' plane, and they're outmaneuvering Cubot, who's shooting lasers at them. And Orbot throws Sonic the handle to the gravity helmet. He catches it, he gets it in the helmet, he turns it down, and boom! Everybody gently floats to the ground, nice and safe. And I thought this is where the episode was going to end, but no! It turns out that none of them are able to really move around very freely. It turns out that Sonic didn't just turn the device off, he turned the handle too far and set it all the way to reverse. So instead of freeing people from gravity, it's actually increasing the effects of gravity. So at first, they're just unable to take steps, but it's starting to get stronger and stronger, where it actually pulls them down to the ground and they can't move. They're stuck. And this happens just as Eggman finally makes a perfect batch of fries, and he's about to taste one when, remember, he did get zapped with the gravity ray. He gets pulled onto the ground, and he drops the fry, and he can't reach it. So everyone's stuck in the ground, and the one who's closest to the gravity helmet is Knuckles. So Sonic says that it's up to him to reach the helmet and turn it off. But Knuckles, even though he's barely able to lift his shoulders up off the ground before his strength gives out, so even he isn't strong enough to get to the helmet. But Sonic says that if he digs, then he'd be able to dig his way to the helmet. So Knuckles digs a tunnel, reaches the helmet, turns it off, and everyone's gravity is restored to normal. Back at the base, Dr. Eggman is eating his batch of perfect fries while all of his robots are physically pushing on the wall of the base. I don't know, why didn't he just use his gravity thing? Orbot calculates that they managed to move it by 1/8 of a degree, and he says that when they do all the other 1/8, then they'll be able to go back inside. So they all resume pushing the fully weighted base. Okay, like I said, this episode is justified for that one line about gender equality and how tacky it is to call attention to it. That alone is the justification for calling this episode great. But the hilarious shenanigans involving the gravity ray are also good. Like, I love how Eggman has just decided he's not gonna do anything evil this week, and when he's when he sees everybody is doing things like he goes and he makes his own fries. That's what he does. Nope, no evil schemes this week. I just wanted to rotate my base so I wouldn't have to worry about the breeze on this day of the week, and Sonic is dealing with the random shenanigans caused by my out-of-control invention, which I didn't actively release, but I was going to stop, but then he's going to do it, so I guess I won't have to do it, and now I'm going to make my fries. So, like, no one's being evil this week. Although, I guess there is a line, there are a couple throwaway lines, like some people always point out when I forget the Easter eggs, so, like, there's a point where the gravity ray hits a cannon and it starts to flow away, and Sonic says that the beam is starting to affect Cannon, too. Like, hardy har har. People are always arguing about show's canon. And Knuckles even makes a brief note about religion. Like he says that this is the last time he's going to be swayed by someone with a charismatic spiel promising easy gains. And that's when T.W. Barker comes to sell him a timeshare and he's all in. Whatever. But yeah, like, so those are a couple Easter eggs. But, you know what? I feel extremely happy after watching this episode. It's a good thing. So, I guess that's fine. If the episode can make me feel happy inside, then it's a good episode. Alright. I know it's almost the end of May. Almost the end of July. Man, I forgot what month it was for a second. And I'm almost done with one more custom. This is going to be a pretty epic one. I just gotta wait for this epoxy to harden, and then I'll be able to paint this, and it'll all be done, and you'll see it, and it'll be awesome. Should be ready by tomorrow, being my last custom of July. So, Space Sonic figure justified. A few jokes at the expense of third wave feminism and religion, and continuity geeks, and I'm gonna sign off for this week.